into it. All right, so the first thing that I want to say is why iPad podcasting. I love iOS. I just absolutely adore it. I've been using an iOS device since the iPhone 3G. I did not get the original iPhone. It was very, very expensive, for one thing, and they were hard to find, truthfully, too. But the iPhone 3G came out in the summer of, right after Judah was born, so 2008, I guess, the summer of 2008, and I was in line day one to pick up the iPhone 3G. I spent the next couple of days, adding apps to it. I purchased far too many apps that first month or and a half or so, and I've been using iPhone ever since then. I've owned the iPhone 3G, the 4, the 4S, the 5, the 6 Plus, and now I own the 7. Is what I use now. iPads, I was there on day one as well. I ordered the original iPad for work, and I had the iPad 1, I had the iPad 2, I had the iPad Retina, I had the iPad Mini, I've had the iPad Air, and now I own the iPad Pro 10.5-inch, which is my primary device. To me, iOS is absolutely, without a doubt, the future of computing. It is a simpler system in its conceptions and in its abstractions from what we do in the physical world, and yet in many ways it's a more powerful system in the way that the operating system itself and the architecture is built. The base of iOS to me is more powerful and more forward thinking than Mac OS or even Windows OS, and I've been a user of both over the different years. So that's why I'm behind iOS, and I've wanted to use it, and I've tried to use it in more ways and different ways, and I've tried to use it in any opportunity that I can and stretched the ways that it can fit into my life. Now, for podcasting itself, I think I've been trying to do things with podcasting on the iPad for at least 3 or 4 years now. Basically, the entire time that I've been podcasting, I've thought to myself, surely we can use this device in a better way for broadcasting and for podcasting. Through the radio station that I used to work for, Red Peach Radio, I still am affiliated with them, do Tech Game Day in the fall. Matter of fact, we got a game coming up this weekend. We're going to be broadcasting live. I love to use my iPad when I'm out on the go. I use it as my sort of heads-up display. I use it for players' rosters, and I use it for statistics from the last game and things like that. All of those things that I can call to mind, I've got them right there in front of me, and I can access them and promote them in any way that I want to, anytime that I want to, from anywhere. That's what I love about the iPad. Podcasting specifically sort of came into its own as far as the iPad is concerned with the introduction of Ferrite, in my opinion. And that is the primary app that we're going to cover during our discussion. I've got 4 sessions planned out for you. The first session is going to be what your options are to record on iOS. And we're going to talk about all the different ways that you can produce a podcast. But primarily, you're looking at either a solo show, you're looking at a couple of guests, or 3 hosts maybe, or 4 hosts that are the same each week in each episode in an ongoing fashion. And then you've got different guests week to week for an interview show, and sometimes you have 2 people recording locally and 1 remotely, and so there's all sorts of options that are going to come into play there, and we'll tell you what those options are, both on the software side. There are some really neat things that are coming into their own right now through software, apps like Ringer and Zencaster and Acast. We'll talk about all of those. We'll also talk, though, about your hardware options, ways that you can adapt and extend iOS and the iPad with simple things like the Lightning to USB 3 camera adapter that is available now, and it works on all the latest iOS devices and some of the old ones as well, and that really enables you to do anything you want to with the iPad as far as what you can plug into it. So we're going to talk about that as well in the first session. Recording. What are your options to record on your iPad? We'll do that in session 1. Session 2, we're going to talk about how you can edit on your iPad. And I've already referenced Ferrite. That's going to be the primary app that I'm going to focus on and really go in depth on. But we'll talk about other apps too. I've got podcaster friends that use BossJock Studio. We're going to discuss that and what it can bring to your podcasting, what it offers you, and why people use it as opposed to Ferrite. We'll talk a little bit about Twisted Wave, which is another great app. There's also a digital audio workstation that I've used a little bit in the past called Aria. We're going to just again, touch on that, give you the briefest of glimpses into it. But the reason why I've fallen in love with ferrite, and the reason why, to me, the evolution and the maturity of ferrite is what makes this whole thing really possible. It's why I'm starting now with the iPad podcasting course, is because of ferrite and its development. It is a touch-first, cloud-first editor. Multi-track, long-form audio is its game. I mean, that is what it is made for. It was specifically built from the ground up by the developer Wooji Juice, which is a silly name, but a great developer. They make ferrite. They also make an app called Hokusai 2, and those two apps together, we're going to discuss how powerful they are and how many different things you can do that traditionally have only been available if you're a fairly skilled audio engineer and you're using a real professional digital audio workstation like Logic or Audition or Pro Tools, etc. So, the first session we're going to talk about recording. The second session we're going to talk about editing, and we're going to have a heavy focus on ferrite, but we'll talk about those other apps there. The third session we're going to focus on production. We're going to talk about Hokusai 2 and the different things that you can do in that app to tweak your audio. We're also going to talk about Auphonic and the ways that you can plug Auphonic into your workflow to automate a lot of processes, to automate a lot of audio engineering steps. If you're getting good audio in the beginning, and you know the standard steps that you need to process it, you can either do that very easily for low or no cost on an ongoing basis, depending upon the length of your show and the regularity of production. So we're going to talk about things that you can do directly on your iPad with different apps to produce and sweeten the sound, and then some automation processes that you can use through the web, like Auphonic.com, and ways that can help with the production. Finally, in the last section, that's Chapter 4, we're going to talk about publishing your episodes and your podcasts directly to your media host, both with metadata tagging and even chapters and timestamps if you want to integrate that as well. We're going to teach you how to do that straight to your media host. And we're going to cover the major media hosts, but if you've got something specific, I'd love to hear about it. You can comment on this video, or you can send me a message and say, Joel, I use X, Y, and Z, and I'd really like to find out how that can integrate well. And anyway, if you're hearing this message and you already have a podcast and you want to integrate in a more serious way an iPad or iPhone into your workflow, this course is for you. If you've wanted to do a podcast in the past and you've looked at the tools, you've looked at the software, you looked at the hardware and said, that's more than I want to deal with, and you've gotten stuck there, this podcast course is for you. If you dream of doing a podcast and you've started doing a podcast, but you hate the process, well, then this course is for you. I think there's something in it that's going to be just right for your workflow. Maybe not all of my methods, maybe not all the things that I suggest are going to work for you and your podcast, but some of the things are going to be perfect for you. They're going to save you time, they're going to save you effort, and perhaps they're going to be able to allow you to do something that you haven't had the ability to do before. That's one of the things that I like about the iPad, the iPhone, and iOS. I feel like so many times they give me tools that I knew existed, like I knew someone can do that thing, but I haven't been able to do that thing in the past. And now, with iPhone and iOS and iPad, I can. So that's the deal. Maybe you can too. It's iPadpodcasting.com. Register today, $49. Get it today before it goes up to $99. Share this video with your friends if you'd like, especially if they are iOS lovers or if they're would-be podcasters. I'd love to talk to them too. You can message me directly at propodcastingservices.com. Joel at propodcastingservices.com is the email. And I'm excited to get this info out there. I'm excited to share with you. All right. Thanks, everybody, and bye-bye.